Your Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? Welcome on in to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Monday, July 31st. I'm your host, Jack Bushman. Go and check me out on Twitter at JackBushman2, or you could also go and check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey for all the latest Blackhawks news and updates. And also just a reminder to be sure to subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube if you haven't done so already. It won't cost you anything. It only takes a quick click of the button. And also that way you can get the latest episode as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And make sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks on Instagram as well to have a chance to win some cool free Blackhawks stuff as part of the giveaway that I'm currently having right now on the channel, which I'll be talking about more following the first ad break. All right, good afternoon, everyone. As always, thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. And thank you all for making the show your very first listen here to start off your day. And to open things up here on the show, the reason why I actually wasn't going to be having an episode come out here on Monday following the Mailbag Monday extravaganza that I dropped on Sunday afternoon. Some of you might have listened to that, though, on Monday morning. And for those who are unaware, we are at the point now in the off season where the show is only going to be having 3 episodes come out per week rather than 5. Doing, 5 shows a week for all 12 months is pretty difficult to do, especially at this time of the summer when there just isn't a whole lot of hockey news coming out and there just isn't as much, obviously, to talk about at the dry part of the summer revolving the Chicago Blackhawks and everything going on in the NHL because there just isn't anything going on. So naturally, this time of the year, August and most of September, if I do believe, will be down to only 3 episodes a week. So just a little bit of an update and a little bit of a notification for those of you out there who are diehards and tuning in each and every day. This is a nice little time for yours truly to take a little bit of a breath, take a step back, enjoy golf. Obviously, I do coverage for that as well. Football season is coming up right around the corner too, so it gives me some nice time to get ready and prepare for my fantasy football team, which I take oh so seriously each and every season. It's a much needed break for yours truly and a much needed rest period before getting revamped up for the start of the regular season. And I'm not kidding, Blackhawks fans. I have not been as excited about a regular season as I am for this one since I have taken over as the host of Locked On Blackhawks. So maybe this year more than any, I'm kind of hoping that this next month and a half or 2 months flies by a little bit, but I'm certainly going to enjoy it while it's here. But getting back to my original point, as you all know, I do tend to ramble from time to time. The reason why I'm getting another episode out here on Monday is because I did want to spread the news as fast as possible. Just an hour or two ago, the Chicago Blackhawks announced that they will be holding a public memorial to honor Rocky Wirtz, the former chairman and owner of the Chicago Blackhawks, of course. They're going to be honoring him with a ceremony at the United Center next Wednesday, August 9th. That's a week from this upcoming Wednesday. And I'm sure there's going to be loads of Blackhawks fans coming from all sorts of places to go and show their support for Rocky and obviously all the great things that he did for the Blackhawks organization from 2007 up until last week when the news broke of his tragic and unexpected passing. And by the way, I don't know when we're going to get this information, but we still don't have any updates as to what may have led to the tragic passing of Rocky Wirtz. And one thing we do know for sure from multiple sources was that Rocky wasn't dealing with any ongoing concerns or long-term health issues or anything along those lines, or at least anything that the family was aware of or that the public is aware of at this point in time. It seemed like this was really unexpected from all fronts, and obviously was a very sad day and a very sad time for Blackhawks fans everywhere. And I know there are going to be lots of people wanting to come down to the UC to show their support for Rocky. And as far as the memorial goes, I mentioned obviously that's, going to be held a week from this upcoming Wednesday, August 9th at the UC. The event is going to kick off at 11 a.m. Central Time, and there will be first come, first serve seating inside the arena. They didn't state how many seats are going to be open. I'm not sure exactly how many people they're anticipating, but it is going to be first come, first serve, and the doors are going to be officially opening at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. So for those of you who are wanting to go down and show your support and go and, man, just tough to talk about even, go and celebrate the incredible life that Rocky Wirtz lived and how he impacted the city of Chicago and Blackhawks fans and, the Chicago Blackhawks staff, players, everyone that was involved during his time. I'm sure there's going to be lots of people. For those who want to get there early to ensure that they get a good seat, the doors, like I said, open at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. The Blackhawks also announced that there will be free parking for this. So for anyone that was concerned about that, and obviously parking down in Chicago is one of the most painful things to try and do. And it's a big reason why I try not to drive down there as much as possible. It's just an absolute train wreck. And obviously parking is ridiculously expensive, as is everything in the city of Chicago. So for those who would be concerned about that problem, there is going to be free parking offered outside the United Center as well in Lot K. And then if they need to, if there's going to be overflow parking, they are going to be opening up more parking lots if needed. So it's not like if Lot K fills up and that's first come, first serve, you're going to have to go and find and pay for your own parking spot. No, the Blackhawks and the United Center will be opening up as much parking as needed. And it sounds like they're going to be accounting for as many people as possible coming down next Wednesday, which is absolutely awesome to hear. It's obviously a very tough time, but having something like that, a ceremony to honor Rocky Wirtz and to have everyone come down together for, I'm sure, what will be a very powerful moment. It's a proper way to celebrate Rocky for all the great contributions that he made, and a great way for everyone to go down there and pay their respects to Rocky and to the entire Wirtz family. Once again, of course, thoughts and prayers from me go out to the entire Wirtz family during this tough time. I'm sure it's going to be a very emotional day down at the United Center, but one that will celebrate and commemorate all the amazing things Rocky did, all the lives that he touched. I'm not going to go into the full swing because I thought I did a pretty good job discussing just how much of an impact Rocky truly made and how none of this would have been possible without him. If you haven't listened to that yet, you can easily find that video by going and checking out my channel. But once again, rest in peace to Rocky Wirtz. Thank you for everything you did. I wouldn't be here without the contributions that Rocky Wirtz made. Let's go and pack the UC next Wednesday, baby. Let's get as many people out there as possible. Go and show some support for the entire Wirtz family and for Rocky Wirtz, who tragically passed away at the age of 70 last week. All right, folks, coming up in just a moment, I'll get to a much more positive topic, which is the Wirtz Corporation surprisingly purchasing the Chicago Steel of the United States Hockey League. But first, I need to talk to you all about FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting on Major League Baseball at FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. It's $200 that you can spend on everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid out instantly. FanDuel is the #1 place to bet on Major League Baseball, and it's America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, we're back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Real quick, make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And also, make sure you're following Locked On Instagram, because by doing both, you'll have an opportunity to win some cool free Blackhawk stuff courtesy of yours truly with the giveaway that I'm having right now. And I've recently posted pictures of all the items involved in the giveaway on the Locked On Blackhawks Instagram channel. There's going to be a Blackhawks fan only reserved parking sign. I also have a cool Blackhawks board right here that I might as well just go and grab that I'll be giving away. Really cool there. A bunch of player cards and a lot of other cool items. And the lucky winner will be able to select one item of their choosing. Again, all you have to do in order to qualify, go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube, follow Locked On Blackhawks on Instagram, and then send a screenshot to Locked On Blackhawks on Instagram proving you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Just a little screenshot shows you're subscribed. Send that to Locked On Blackhawks in the DMs, and you'll have an opportunity to win some cool free stuff, again, courtesy of yours truly here from the Locked On Blackhawks podcast. All right, segment 2. I also want to talk about some interesting news that broke over the weekend, which was the Wirtz Corporation, who, of course, owns the Chicago Blackhawks, in addition to many other business ventures, many other successful business ventures. And I think it's a distinction that I should make again. It's the Wirtz Corporation, not the Chicago Blackhawks. And the Wirtz Corporation is the one who owns the Blackhawks, not Rocky himself. Clear distinction there. But the Wirtz Corporation purchased the Chicago Steel of the United States Hockey League over the weekend from Larry Robbins, who, oh man, I forget exactly what he does, but a hedge fund, I believe, in Glenview. Very successful business of his own there. And he actually purchased the Steel in 2015, moved them out to the Fox Valley, moved them from Bensenville, Illinois, which I actually won a baseball tournament in Bensenville. It's the only a noteworthy thing I could think of Bensenville when it comes to my mind. I won a baseball tournament there when I was like 12 years old, and shout out to everyone who was also on that team with me. It was an absolute squad. But yeah, Larry Robbins moved them from Bensenville, Illinois to Geneva, Illinois, out in the Fox Valley in 2015 after he purchased the team. And since purchasing them in 2015, what a run it's been from Robbins. He has absolutely had absolutely turned the Chicago Steel into one of the premier junior hockey teams, not in just the USHL, but in all of North America. I mean, it has become an absolute program, a model of success, a ton of growth in attendance, just becoming an absolute dynamite organization from top to bottom. And as I said, one of the most prestigious in all of junior hockey from every single level. We've seen 39 players get drafted in the NHL with Chicago Steel ties since Larry Robbins took over in 2015. And they have some pretty good notables here with Owen Power, who was the number 1 overall pick in the 2019 NHL draft. Adam Fantilli, of course, played for the Chicago Steel as well, would have been number 1 overall in basically any other year but this one. And to my surprise, very greatly, along with very many other folks, fell all the way down to number 3 at the Columbus Blue Jackets, but was the Hobey Baker Trophy winner as a freshman for the University of Michigan and was an absolute stud there. And then they also had Macklin Celebrini last season, who became the first player in USHL history to win the Player of the Year, the Forward of the Year, and the Rookie of the Year awards all in the same season. And he could very well wind up going number 1 overall in the 2024 NHL draft. So they become an absolute pipeline for NHL talent since Larry Robbins took over in 2015. They also have accumulated the most regular season wins over that span and postseason wins. They've won 2 Clark Cups, 2017, I believe, and 2021. They also have won 2 Anderson Cups, which is equivalent to the NHL's President's Trophy, given out to the team that accumulates the most points inside the regular season. They've also won 3 Eastern Conference titles, 7 postseason appearances, 7 consecutive years of attendance growth. They've also had 11 members of their staff, coaching staff, and training staff elevated to the NHL during that same stretch. So it's just been an amazing run by Robbins and the Chicago Steel since he took over in 2015. And obviously now this is a very, very notable acquisition made by the Wirtz Corporation. And I do want to make a big distinction here. I've listened to a couple of podcasts, the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, shout out to those guys. I've also read as many articles as I can to kind of figure out the nitty gritty of all of this. But from what it sounds like, and this is going to be the Wirtz Corporation buying the Chicago Steel, not the Chicago Blackhawks, which is a big distinction. And according to Jay Zawaski, the former host of this podcast and the current host of CHGO Blackhawks, NHL teams are not allowed to own junior clubs, so that's probably why it was the Wirtz Corporation being the ones who actually made this purchase. But this is going to be very big. Obviously, they can throw a ton of money at the Chicago Steel having that big backing, and it's only going to add to the player development, the branding, obviously, putting just everything that goes together with putting a very prestigious organization together, having the best training facilities, the best staff, the best equipment, the best practice facilities, all that good stuff. The Chicago Steel are going to be given that with the Wirtz family now backing it and all their money. But it is important to note that the belief right now, and I know there's probably some Chicago Steel fans out here from out in the West and out in the Geneva area who are wondering, well, are the Chicago Steel going to remain at the Fox Valley Ice Arena, or are they going to remain out in Geneva? And it sounds like that's going to be the case at this point in time. It doesn't sound like there's any desire from the Wirtz Corporation to move the Chicago Steel out of that area. So fret not for the folks who may be season ticket owners or who may be people that are just living in that area that go and see the Chicago Steel from time to time. It does not sound like there's going to be any changes made in that situation. And if anything, assuming that is the case, it's only going to become a better experience to go and watch Chicago Steel hockey, which, as I talked about, 72%, or they've had 7 consecutive years of attendance growth, 72% growth in attendance since Larry Robbins took over in 2015. Obviously, that was kind of taking care of itself, but I'm sure the experience and going down there and just everything that goes along with taking care of the facilities and whatnot, all that stuff is only going to get better with the Wirtz Corporation backing it. So this is a very great thing for the Chicago Steel and also just the game of hockey in the entire state of Illinois. And there also may be some people out there saying the timing of this announcement is very interesting considering Rocky's passing last week. Well, it sure sounds like this was something that Rocky Wirtz had his fingerprints all over and was something that he cared about very, very seriously and very, very much. It was growing the game of hockey here in this area and wanting to expand and wanting to continue to add all the efforts to ensure that this game is heading in the right direction, is heading in a better place. And we've obviously seen huge growth in hockey in Illinois since I was a kid. I mean, growing up playing hockey even 10, 15 years ago was quite uncommon in this area. And that's why it was like really cool to see hometown guys like Vinny Hinostroza and Ryan Hartman playing for the Chicago Blackhawks, because they grew up in a time where it wasn't like super cool and super in to grow up and play hockey. That didn't come until after the effects of Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane and all that stuff. And of course, Rocky Wirtz himself. But it's been pretty cool to see just the boom in hockey here in Chicago. And a big part of that, I'm sure, big part of the Blackhawks run has been the Chicago Steel. And I'm sure that's what led to Larry Robbins coming out and saying this wasn't just going to be, something that he could go and flip years down the road. This was something he truly wanted to grow and took pride in, and he's done a phenomenal job over the years. And he is still going to be involved. He's going to be taking on an advisory role with the Chicago Steel, and I'm sure that's probably important to a lot of people in the organization and a lot of Chicago Steel fans as well. And the team will also retain its current hockey team and business leadership throughout this transition. So it's not like the Wirtz Corporation is going in and making severe changes and cleaning house and all that good stuff. Now, I'm sure they're probably going to be overseeing everything that goes down to make sure that their investment is going properly, right? I mean, it would just be stupid of them to go and buy something like this with all the money they're spending. I'm not sure what the dollar amount is, but I'm sure it's not light change we're talking about here. So I'm sure they're going to want to go and audit and oversee and go and watch everything. And I'm sure they will have their input on player development things and directions that the organization can go in, and maybe hires or just offer maybe not the most hands-on ownership, but they're going to have their input for sure, because they obviously know how to get it done at the highest level and have been a very successful corporation for a very, very long time now. So it doesn't sound like there's going to be any like really swift changes made off the get-go, but it sounds like it's going to be a very, very positive progression and a positive step for the Chicago Steel now that they're owned by the Wirtz Corporation. Really big news here in Chicago, actually. I know there may be not as many people who are familiar with the Chicago Steel, but I think that is going to change over the next decade or so, considering what a program they've turned themselves into. And I mean, look at the talent that they've had just in the last handful of seasons. Owen Power, Macklin Celebrini, who I know people aren't quite as familiar with yet, but the kid could be an absolute stud. He's heading to Boston University to be a freshman. And then, of course, Adam Fantilli, the number 3 overall pick in this last year's draft. That's all within the last 4 years. So if you're out in that area, or even if you're just looking to go and watch a good local hockey game with some up-and-coming talent, the Chicago Steel are going to be a great place to do that out in the Fox Valley. It sounds like for years to come. And I'm excited to see the growth and everything that's going to come with the Wirtz Corporation now owning the Chicago Steel of the United States Hockey League. All right, before I wrap things up, I do want to let you all know about the cool stuff that I have planned for Locked On Blackhawks here in the next few weeks. And of course, as always, make sure to go and subscribe, like, and comment, all that good stuff. Go and follow Locked On Blackhawks on Instagram as well to have a chance to win some cool free stuff, courtesy of yours truly. As far as videos go, I'm really diving into the other Central Division teams right now in my Central Division preview. I believe I've broken down 4 of the 7 other teams in the Central Division. And once I do wrap up my personal previews, I'm also going to be having crossover episodes with the host of all the Central Division teams to kind of get their perspective on their clubs and a little bit more insight on what to expect when the season rolls around here in just a couple of months. I'm also going to be having Connor Bedard's full rookie season projection coming out pretty soon here. And I'm also going to have a really deep dive on who could/should be the next captain of the Chicago Blackhawks. Lots of good stuff coming out here, even though we are in the dead point of the offseason. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Blackhawks so you don't miss out on any of that good stuff. All right, before I let you all go and get out of here for segment 3, I also wanted to be sure to mention some other pretty big news regarding the Wirtz Corporation over the weekend, as they have officially made Danny Wirtz the chairman and the president of the company following Rocky's passing last week, as the board has officially approved the succession over the weekend. And that means that Danny is now the head honcho of the liquor business, their real estate stuff, and of course, so it seems, the Chicago Blackhawks. And we know Danny had already been the CEO for well over a year now. And although I'm sure no one quite expected it to happen this soon, it was a very unexpected passing for Rocky Wirtz. He has kind of always felt like, since he stepped onto the scene, kind of been getting groomed to take over for Rocky whenever that time was going to come. I know no one expected it to happen this soon, but following Rocky's outburst at the Blackhawks town hall, Danny Wirtz really kind of became the guy that was representing the business. And Jamie Faulkner obviously was added there too. They've kind of become the faces, the new faces of the front office in the new era of the Chicago Blackhawks. And that was really the end of Rocky Wirtz in the spotlight, right? They kind of eased him out of that, and it kind of had to happen after what went down at that town hall. I mean, it was just not a good look whatsoever for the Chicago Blackhawks. But since Danny has really become the face, I think I speak on behalf of a lot of Blackhawks fans when I say I've been really impressed with everything that he's done, how involved he's been within the Blackhawks community, all the smart changes that he's been making, the additions, doing everything just to show the Chicago Blackhawks. And look, some people may think it's corny or cheesy or stupid, the things that he's doing or what the Blackhawks are doing with the events that they have at the UC and all that stuff. But quite honestly, this is what needed to happen for the Chicago. Did you just think the Chicago Blackhawks, after being publicly shamed, did you think the next group of leaders was going to come in and think doing the same thing was going to be okay? No, clearly changes needed to be made to this Blackhawks organization from top to bottom. And I think Danny Wirtz has put his best foot forward day in and day out to represent the Blackhawks in a positive light, to make sure they're doing everything and being as active as possible with the Native American community and with the entire city of Chicago. And I've been really happy with everything that Danny Wirtz has done, everything that he said, and what he stood for so far as the CEO. So if this does wind up being the case, if Danny is the new chairman and the one taking over, as we all thought was the most likely scenario, it seems like it's pretty official at this point in time. But I think everyone would be okay with that. And I think the most likely option, I think it just makes sense to keep this in the family. And it seemed, again, like Danny was getting groomed for this position. So we'll see if the Blackhawks make any official announcement regarding this in the next couple of days. It does still feel like the timing may be a little bit too soon. Obviously, as a business, the Wirtz Corporation, they have to keep running day in and day out. So this was a decision that they had to make. But from the Blackhawks side of things, it's obviously no rush really to make this announcement if it is, in fact, Danny Wirtz, as we all expect. But he was, of course, officially named the new chairman and president of the Wirtz Corp on Monday, pretty much signifying that he is going to be the new chairman of the Chicago Blackhawks following the tragic passing of his father, Rocky, at the age of 70 last week. All right, folks, I think that is going to take care of Monday, July 31st's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. As always, thank you all again for tuning into the show, and be sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free right now, wherever you may be listening to your podcasts, and to go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. And you can get the latest episode as soon as it comes out each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. Go and show me some love. Follow at Jack Bushman2 on Twitter, or you can go and check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey for all the latest Blackhawks news and updates. So until tomorrow's episode, that's going to do it here for the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.